There are nearly 6 million acres of forest in Alaska, and much of it is covered in spruce and alder, both of which are great for building shelters. To build the shelter, I'm going to need like 10 or so of these alder saplings. And the best way of cutting these is to bend it over until you see the stress out of it. And then when those fibres are under stress, you can just show it with a knife and it will cut through. You can recognise an alder by the leaves. They're serrated and they grow alternately up the stem. And I'm using the spruce for the roof. I'm making what's called a half-dome shelter. It's simple and it's fast. To waterproof it, you start at the bottom, then move up, putting one layer on top of the one below. And then I need fire. It's about 5 p.m. now and it's almost dusk, and there's probably only about an hour of light left. And the priority really for me now is to find shelter and something to eat. Okay, the key to building a shelter is you want something that's going to keep you warm, it's going to keep you dry, but above all, it's not going to expend a huge amount of energy to build. And what I'm going to do is make what they call a debris shelter. And it's really simple to do. All I do is always unpick this thing up. Drag it along, and I've got my base of it here. And then really just try and clear all these under branches and get all of this moss and pine needles. And I'll do this now on both sides, and then I need just to find loads of moss. Moss like this for the roof is going to protect me from the wind and the rain. This is going to be beautiful, and it's going to keep me really snug. With temperatures approaching near freezing at night, the inside of the shelter could be as much as 10 degrees warmer. And one of the most important things I've done here is really put masses and masses of the pine needles as a kind of ground bedding here. And the reason this is so important is you lose the majority of your heat through your body and through the ground. But with enough of this is going to hold the heat and insulate me above and below. Hey, look, this is going to be great. And like nature's done the work for me here. There are no poisonous snakes or deadly spiders on this island, but there are centipedes, leeches and mosquitoes. I don't want to share my bed with any of them. Before I build the roof, I need to put the bedding down. And this dead fern is going to make a really nice springy like mattress. And even though it's a roof that keeps me dry, it's this that keeps me warm, and this is where you lose most of your heat. Okay, now I can start to build the structure. These giant ferns will make an ideal covering. By starting with the lower sections first and building upwards, any rain that does fall will roll off the sides and won't come through my roof. And just put the last couple of these in, and this is going to keep this rain off that's just started. And this is one of the rare occasions where the timing of the rain is actually perfect. All I need now is to find some dead firewood. What makes a real difference when you're making shelters in these valleys is to try and pick these south-facing slopes, and because they see more of the sun, it means the trees and the rocks retain more of their warmth. Okay, look, I can easily make a shelter tucked under this little spruce tree here, really with a minimum of effort. And all I gotta do is take this rucksack, parachute off a lot. All I've got to do is clear a bit of a platform, clear this snow away, break off some of these branches and insulate the bottom with a load of pine and put some more spruce branches above again to insulate me from above, and this will make a perfectly good shelter. It's easy to cut and thread the supple pine branches to make a shelter to protect you from the worst of the weather.
But if you're gonna survive out here, you need to know how to make a good camp. With some help from the crew, I'm gonna show you how to build a wickie, a traditional Native American shelter.
I can just use strips of this dead fir as sections of the tripod. That will do for one. And that's about 8 foot, that will do. And I'm going to have one side a bit shorter than the other, but that still should do. This is a pretty good place to build this wickie up. And this will do, it's pretty flat.
The slight depression here is going to stop you from rolling downhill.
It's really important though, just to check that you don't have any game trails moving through where you want to sleep, and also no red ants. Final thing I want to check for is having a bit of open sky above me, so if search and rescue is looking for you, they can actually see you. And I'm going to lay them in a way so I leave a little gap this side that's going to be my door, and it's going to be south facing, so I'll get the sun from the southeast first thing in the morning, and should be nice and warm as well. It's 4 p.m. and it's already beginning to get dark, and I've just got to get some sort of shelter made quickly. We're only a few degrees north of the equator here, which means the days and the nights are of equal length, and when it gets dark here, it gets dark really fast. It's also the middle of the rainy season now, and when it rains it really pours, and if I haven't got some sort of shelter made and a fire going by the time it's night, I'm just going to be dinner for every mosquito in this forest.
This site's no good. Falling trees and branches are the biggest killers of people in the jungle, so I need to find clear ground.
This area should do, it's dry, there's no stream nearby that could flood it, but more importantly, there are no ants, and it's ants that are the real kings of the jungle. And I tell you, when there's a colony of ants on the move, it just destroys anything. But the first thing you need to do to build a shelter is clear the ground, and you don't want to be using your hands for this when you're clearing leaves, just because there could be snakes or, you know, scorpions around, so use a stick. But you need to clear a good area of underbedding and get, if you can, back to the bare earth. And it's on top of this that you're eventually going to line it.
I'm not going to bother to make a raised bed because I'm only going to be here for one night. Most snakes and scorpions won't want to cross open ground, so clearing away the leaves should be enough to put them off.
Okay, that's the ground cleared here, and I can use these 2 trees as uprights, and now I need to cut myself some cross braces for this. And this will do.
Without a knife, this would be impossible. Hardened jungle guides always carry a machete, but even with this small blade, I can do much more than just survive. Even a penknife would be better than nothing, and using a piece of wood as a hammer, I can chop down thin trees easily. It's going to be a very simple lean-to structure. It doesn't need 2 sides because there's very little wind in the rainforest, and the rain is only going to come straight down. I'm desperate to get this done quickly. The sky is still light, but only about 2% of that light finds its way down to the forest floor, and once the sun sets, I won't be able to see a thing. I'm using biagua leaves to make the roof of the shelter. I'm making a tear each side of the stem so I can hang the leaves on the cross pieces, creating a natural equivalent of a tiled roof, and it should be pretty watertight. We've got fire. Staying warm here is not the problem. But the sun is punishing, and prolonged exposure to the wind and rain can sap your health. So I'm going to build a simple shelter. Hibiscus is such a useful tree, and it's common near the shoreline of Pacific Islands. You can spot it by its heart-shaped leaves. Its smooth bark is also excellent for lashing material.
Normally I'd build a shelter right back in the shade, but really for me the priority out here is that I'm visible from the air. Anything flying over, any rescues. What I can do is lash these on with more of this bark fibre.
As a first layer, use dried palm leaves. They're plentiful, and I don't waste too much energy finding them. And on top, fresh leaves that are more waterproof.